Alright guys, in this video we are going to do the exact opposite of what we did yesterday, where yesterday we went through and we looked at where high stakes fantasy baseball drafters were taking some hitters a little bit later than casual drafters. We are going to be using NFC data and Yahoo fantasy data, and no, there are no sponsorships in this video or anything. We're just going to be using their average draft positions because we're going, you know what? The people playing in the NFC, they are putting up a significant amount of money. They are putting up an amount of money that probably means if they are that confident in their fantasy baseball abilities, they know significantly more than I do. So what we want to be doing is we want to go, okay, you know, their ADP probably pretty predictive. And if we can go through and see some players that those high stakes fantasy baseball drafters are higher on than the overall population, maybe there's a little bit more that we need to dive into. Maybe if you're playing in just a Yahoo Fantasy Baseball League with some friends, these are going to be some names that you can go out and you can use as draft day targets. But that's it. Before we get into the video, please go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and we just passed 200 subscribers, so of course that is a massive milestone, and I want to thank everybody who has decided to join the flock. Alright, well, anyway, let's pull up our first player here, and this is going to be Alberto Mondesi, who right now in the NFC is going at the very end of the second round, the very beginning of the third round, and obviously, this is because it's a Roto 5x5 league. Obviously, it's because of his stolen base production, where he is going to crush everybody else in Major League Baseball with the amount of bags he should be able to steal this year. And if we go over and look at where casual fantasy baseball drafters are taking him, they're taking him in the very beginning of the third round. So you have an entire round difference here, which I understand if you're looking at players that are going maybe in the 8th, 9th, 10th rounds. Down there, it's more of a flat distribution with the opportunity cost on the players you're going to be taking. So it's definitely a much bigger deal to see this strong drop-off in the early rounds. And what else I want to do in this video is I want to go through and look at some 2021 projections, and how we are going to be doing that is we are going to be looking at RotoChamp, which is a website that goes through and I think it pulls projections from a multitude of fantasy baseball websites to create their own aggregate. So of course, like I've said before, I am not smart enough with fantasy baseball to make my own projections. So we are going to use the tools available to us, and this is a great one, I think. And here they are having him with 559 at-bats, a 250 average, a 288 on-base percentage, and a 419 slugging. Now, I understand y'all hear these numbers and you go, okay, that's a player I'm not drafting inside the top 5 rounds. Mason, why are you bringing him up as a second-round selection? And it's because they're projecting him to have 52 stolen bases. Now, that pretty much guarantees you, if you're playing in one of those 5x5 roto leagues, it goes, hey, you take him at the end of the second round, the beginning of the third round. You know what? Your stolen base category, you're going to win it pretty much throughout the course of the season, every single time. I mean, you are going to be crushing your league mates. This is a player that you can take here and then never have to look at stolen bases for the rest of your fantasy baseball draft. And if we look at his last big season, we are going to be looking at 2019. And for anybody who's new to the channel, we really don't look at 2020 statistics just because the sample size is so small and it was a very weird year. So I would rather look at 2019 for Mondesi, where he had 415 at-bats, a 263 average, a 291 on-base percentage, a 424 slugging, and most importantly, 43 stolen bases with only 415 at-bats. So I think it's a very conservative projection by RotoChamp to have him for 52 stolen bags if he can get up to that 550 at-bat mark. Now, I'll say if that happens, I mean, he is going to be a massive value in drafts currently, and RotoChamp currently has him as the 23rd player in value if he meets these projections. So if you're playing in a casual fantasy baseball league and you have the opportunity to take him in the middle of the third, you should do it without even thinking twice. All right, so now let's bring up our next player, someone that I swear to God we talk about every video, so I know y'all are probably tired about this by now, but Corey Seager for the Dodgers, we have to bring him up in that right now he is going around pick 31, 32 in the NFC drafts. And in Yahoo, he's going at pick 41, 42. So another sharp drop-off for a player that we've been consistent saying, hey, this is a draft day target. Take him, take him, take him. Very high floor as well as the high ceiling based on the fact that we've seen the production before. He's playing in the best lineup in baseball. So you really can't go wrong here. And if we pull up his last major season, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit up and down, kind of a down year for him overall. In 2019, he had a 541 at-bats, a 272 average, a 335 on base percentage, a 483 slugging. But if you look at the greater stat line throughout his entire career, this is kind of looking like a little bit of an outlier. And he's also a younger player that's just now entering his prime, so he's not someone we should be expecting to be on the decline anytime soon. And if we look at the aggregate for his 2021 projections, they have him for 570 at-bats, a 289 average, a 355 on base percentage, and a 516 slugging. Now I'll say, yes, these numbers seem a little bit aggressive, but even if he isn't able to live up to every single one of them, we understand, hey, this is a player playing on the Dodgers. If you're playing on the Dodgers, just getting on base is going to drastically increase your chances of actually scoring. And when you go up to the plate, most likely there are going to be some runners on those base paths, so it's going to increase your chances at seeing RBIs. Now, to kind of round out Corey Seager, I just want to say that right now, RotoChamp has him ranked as the 25th player if he can meet these projections. And I think that puts him in a range where he's a must-draft guy, especially if you're playing in a casual fantasy baseball league where he's going around pick 41, 42. If you're going to get someone that should be an early third-round pick when you're in the middle of the fourth, that is a no-brainer. All right, so now this is going to hurt here a little bit because our next player I talked about not wanting to draft at all, and it looks like the high-stakes drafters are telling me, Mason, you're wrong, and I'm here with the fish, with the Yahoo ADP, and that Kyle Tucker has a massive difference between his two values, where in the NFC, he is currently going at the 29th, 30th overall pick, and in Yahoo, he is going all the way down at 43. So we see this sharp difference, and it's concerning. And the reason I do not like Kyle Tucker is obviously, A, the lineup. You don't necessarily want to be targeting players for that team. And B, the fact that we don't have a sample on him that we can draw from. We don't have something that we can look at and go, you know what? This is who he is. We can safely project this. But that is not holding back currently other fantasy baseball sites from aggressively projecting Kyle Tucker, and they know what they're doing. They are projecting him to have 566 at-bats, a 261 average, a 328 on-base percentage, and I understand none of those numbers are special. But what they are also projecting is a 486 slugging, and to go along with that, 22 stolen bases. So if he can hit that slugging number as well as that total with stolen bases, looks like probably going to be a value. Right now, RotoChamp has him as the 27th player overall if he can hit those projections, which would put him in line for the NFC, the high-stakes drafters. And in Yahoo formats, not necessarily going to be in that range at all. So what I will say is, while I agree he's a risky guy, I was saying that I was not extremely excited to be drafting him this year at that NFC data. If you're playing in a Yahoo format with some friends, and if you're going to be able to get him around the 40th to just say 45th pick in that range, I think then the risk is probably worth the cost. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.